You are now listening to the ReEducation podcast.
What did you learn in school for Black History Month? And did it link to maybe you thinking, well, where do I come from? What impact does that have on my heritage?
I mean, the standard typical curriculum in most schools, anyway, for us lot growing up, I believe was, slavery, Rosa Parks, Mary Seacole, Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King. It was literally just the typical stuff, but they didn't ever teach us about,
You had to do your own research on that, basically.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, I think,
do you know what they do? They just slap on roots. That's what they'll do.
Yeah.
Yep.
Make you right.
That's it.
Right. Literally. And I think, because of such a lack of initiative from their side, I think that's what made me go, where exactly am I from? Like, let me do a bit more research into my stuff. And I think that's my perspective on it. But I've had this conversation enough times with loads of people about like what should they be teaching in the curriculum for Black history and stuff. And a lot of the time, the teachers will say that they're either underfunded or that whole department is usually led by someone who doesn't know much about Black history anyway. So it's usually, I think it's just a lack of interest and lack of initiative from most educational backgrounds. But yeah.
I agree. In year 7, I remember in history, we watched Roots and then we made our own slave diary. So, yeah.
You made your own slave diary.
What's a slave diary? What is that?
So we had to act as if we were a slave and write about it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but I think it was over a week or something. Over a week or a couple of years.
Oh, hell no.
50 lashes.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, and I teabagged the pages, burned the edges, ripped the edges, and she gave me an E. She was like, excellent, well done. So, yeah, she was a white teacher. I remember that. I remember that.
Wow. Wow.
I had full comprehension. We just watched the movie and write, about the movie. But
we did both. Yeah,
I would like
both.
Every student.
I
want to know that teacher's name. Yeah, you bet.
I don't remember her name, but I just remember she was a white woman. Simone, it was so long ago.
It's okay. I can maybe ask circa 2000 and what? When did you start secondary school?
2011?
2011. Can you please let me know who your history teachers were, please?
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to be asking from your school. For that, now, I don't even want Naim to go to that school. Just for that.
Yeah, don't.
Just for that.
That was the norm, though.
Sorry?
I thought it was a norm. I thought
the norm.
people were... I'm learning that now. But I did that in year 7.
I've never done that tea bag thing to make the thing look brownish, old style was when we were doing Henry VIII.
Yeah, old school stuff.
That's the only time that I've ever had to do the effect on a piece of paper. But slave diary? Oh no, they took it way too. Nah. I'm ready to start a petition. That's got me hurt.
And again, that's usually being taught by someone who has no knowledge about Black history. So.
That's unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. Sorry for cutting you, Renee. Continue your story.
It's okay. I picked GCSE I did GCSE history, and I remember the last module that I learned, it was about Britain. I don't know when, but 90s, 80s. And I remember learning about the Windrush and the signs that said no blacks, no dogs, no Irish, those signs. And then I also learned that the Caribbean people who came over on the Windrush were kind of the foundation for the TFL service, which is kind of seen now throughout time. But that's specifically what I remember learning about Black history in school.
I'm still shocked at Slave Diary.
Back to Slave Diary. Yeah. Damn.
I didn't really pay attention to history. Well, from what I do remember,
They didn't really teach you Black history in that school, you know.
the only thing I remember is Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks, mainly, and Nelson Mandela.
Christopher Columbus.
I don't- Why would it-
Black. Let's not-
You know what's mad? You know what's mad? The teachers would talk about this guy. Well, when I was in school, they would talk about this guy like he was black. Like I'm thinking, bro,
It's far from that.
like during Black History Month as well. Like, so you're thinking, wow.
Yeah, because they're corrupt, isn't it?
Because they claim that he found one of the Caribbean islands. I'm sure they're trying to state that he, just like America, he wasn't the first one that got there. And those are just the lies that they be telling people in history anyway. Like, this is the curriculum. This is not what somebody decided, oh, I'd like to come in and give a workshop on Christopher Columbus or bloody roots and make the children do a slave diary. I wish they would come home. I wish Naeem or Kiana would come home and tell me that the teacher told them that. I wish.
I mean, my cousin that lives in Birmingham, she's got 3 children and 2 of her kids go to the same school. And my mum was actually telling me about the conversation that they had where they weren't like, all the parents were given the curriculum that the kids were going to be learning for Black history. And my cousin actually questioned, like, there isn't, you know, this is all, is more or less portraying a lot of negativity. Why isn't there any of the stuff, you know, people that she told me about a lady that stood in front of a bus and knocked off like the whole, like she did a protest or something like that, and it stopped the whole TFL movement for I think 24 hours or something like that, and it was all to do with protesting against racial wars and things like that. And she said, why don't you teach them the positive things, and more or less why don't you teach them the things that's going on now as well as the things that's going on in the past? Because a lot of the time we just talk about all the negatives, and then all that does essentially, as a child growing up, all I'm hearing is white people did us wrong. So they're already trying to paint that picture of, I need to be against the fellow person, the fellow white man. And it's only when you become an adult that you actually realize, okay, hang on a second, you know, there's obviously boundaries. Obviously, there's all sorts of different establishments that you have to go into and realize that this isn't necessarily the correct mentality to have in terms of, like, you have to question everything you was taught as a child growing up. And a lot of the time, I find myself do that a lot now. Like, I question a lot of the things that I was taught. And it's just like, if this is what they're still doing, exactly. So, literally. So it's just literally about re-educating the youth now and letting them understand that, you know, there's a lot of positivity within the negativity. Don't just look at the negatives and paint us out to be one sort of way, or paint other people to be out a certain way, because they mention Christopher Columbus being this great guy, but then they don't mention his negatives. A lot they mention Churchill being a great guy, but they don't mention the negatives. You know, so a lot of the time they're selective with how they want to paint the picture of certain people in history, and that is programming youth growing up to be a certain way, to think a certain way. And so when you're becoming an adult, some neglect the information that's in their faces, and others go ahead and research and find out more about the truths in history, you know. So sorry to ramble on, but yeah.
It's like we as human beings, we fear what we don't know. Yeah. When my son was in his previous school, and I went to the head teacher, who was a white South African woman, and I asked, like, you know, children start in September. I've just joined this new school. There's only 2-year groups because it's a free school and it just recently opened. So I'm like, okay, October's coming. What are we doing for Black History Month? Oh no, that's a PTA discussion. We don't deal with that. I was like, how can the parent and teacher group be responsible for the curriculum that should be Black history? That I'm coming to you as the head teacher. So what are you going to do? This woman turned around and told me, well, you know, it's a heavy subject, you know. I said, what's a heavy subject? Well, you know, Black History Month. I said, what's heavy about Black history and teaching young children about the positive role models and the contributions that Black people have made to society to this day. Well, you know, it's just, I think it's a bit too much for the children to be learning. I said, okay, let me just say what it is, because I know what you're avoiding saying. I was like, if you're referring to slavery, like, if you were to put Black history on this, like this is the line of Black history, like that's how much energy really that you should be given to the topic of slavery. There's a whole selection of other things that you can be talking about to educate these children about the contributions that Black people have made and the greatness that they are. I mean, they watch the TV and see Black people doing great things.
Exactly.
Half of the footballers that they want to be worshipping and have on the back of their t-shirts and want to be selecting when they're playing games are Black, or even from a different country. They're not white British. Like, let's just be real and say it for what it is. And she's like, oh, well, you know, I'm sure if you speak to the PTA, you can think of an event that you can do. I was like, wow. The following year, by the time he was year 1, the Black teacher joined and was the head teacher. I thought, yes, finally got some, you know, representation in there. Boy, was I wrong.
Yeah, it was watered down there.
Same question that I asked the previous head teacher, and her being a Black woman said, oh, no, it's definitely important. Oh, I would definitely be incorporating that. I would, yes, we will be. I think it's important and we must. So, all right, cool. Naeem told me that he learned about Mary Seacole. This is in year 1. Year 2 came. Black History Month. What are you doing? Mary Seacole. Okay, all right. Year 3 comes. What are you learning about? Mary Seacole.
Yeah, I think they're mocking it.
That's why I said there's no initiative.
So I just said, you know what? By the time he got to year 4 and I asked him again, you already know what he said. You've been learning about Mary Seacole, yeah, for the past 3 years. We've reached you, you're in year 4, yeah? You started learning in year 1. Why are you still on Mary Seacole like she's the only Black person that's ever done anything in the world? Don't you think you should move on to something new? He's like, well, I did ask the teacher. We've done this already. And they said, oh, well, we're going to learn something different for a whole month. So you're telling me 4 months, all you've done is talk about Mary Seacole. 4. I said, yeah, this is too much. With the Black head teacher, this is what you've come and you've implemented and just chosen one person that everybody's just going to focus on. You ain't asked no parents to come in, no teachers, no family members to come in, tell stories, like just show what they do as Black professionals, because, you know, it's not just white people that have businesses. It's not just Asian people that are professionals. Like, we are professionals and have businesses, and, you know, we've studied and we worked hard to get to where we are too. So why would you not explore different ways of incorporating, celebrating Black people just in general? That for me was just like, yeah, this is, even when you have Black people in power, they're not always there for the cause, and definitely not doing it for the culture. So me seeing that Black woman and her say, yes, definitely, I think it's very important. Yes, 100%, yes. And the best you could do was Mary Seacole for 4 whole months. And that 4 months is equivalent to 4 years, basically. Like, it's just, come on now. We just need to do better. And I feel the more parents and adults that actually challenge the schools when it comes to this topic, it shouldn't even just be a month. Like, let's do a significant person each month where we study, we learn about them, and then we all kind of talk about them. There's a presentation at them, and that can be from reception. These significant people can be any ethnicity, from any culture, from any part of the world, and be doing anything. Like, it just, for me, it just doesn't make no sense. Education starts at home, and we can't just rely on the schools to teach our children everything. There are some things that we have to make sure that we instill and we teach ourselves. I went to one in Clapham Common, and that's when I first learned about Mary Seacole, because it was called Our Queen Mother, Mary Seacole. That's what the Saturday school was called. And it was in the back of a church. And all of the teachers were Black. Everything came from a Black perspective. And it opened my eyes to something that I'd never seen, like a bunch of Black teachers, a bunch of teaching things like French, music, maths, English. And they're teaching it in a way that it's just so simple and easy to understand. And when I look at like my experience in the classroom, it's like, well, why didn't they? This ain't the same. Why is it that it's this way here and it's that way there? And this was just one day out of a week. Every Saturday, I went to that Saturday school. And it was one of the best experiences for me because I got to meet other young Black people from the area. And I got to experience education from a different perspective and in a different way. So that's just a choice that our mother made to make sure that we still got some element of Black in our lives and helping us experience things in a different way. And also seeing representation, because that stuff really matters.
I mean, with us as well, growing up, we did go to we actually went to two different Saturday schools. We went to one that was more white owned, and then we went to one that was Black owned. I also went to two different drama schools growing up. I went to one, which was my very first one, which was a Black owned one, which they actually helped train me to stop stuttering growing up, because that's what Mum said drove her. Yeah. So they actually trained me to stop stuttering, and then after that I progressed onto a white academy called the Helena Grady Academy, which is a really well-known one around the UK. Secondary schools, there was black teachers compared to white teachers.
No, there were white teachers.
Loads of white teachers.
Yeah.
And I mean, the Black teachers, it was very rare you even saw them in a status of authority or power.
It's funny because the Black teachers that was there, I knew them personally.
Yeah, they were all like really like they were more invested in the actual Black youth than any other teachers there. And on top of that, growing up, we also went to church as well. Our mum got us into loads of different extracurricular activities. So, church growing up was our grandma's thing, which again, we're growing up in a church full of people like us, I'm seeing Black skin everywhere. When a white person walks in, that's when it's like, oh gosh.
With that, you have to feel like raw, like it's good to see that though.
Yeah, it's good because then there's a sense of belonging or knowing that, okay, you're part of something or part of a certain culture. So growing up in our church is predominantly Caribbean. Like I would say at least 80% of everyone there's Caribbean. So we're seeing a lot of people from Trinity, St. Lucia, Barbados, Jamaica, everywhere. So there was a lot of different people and cultures to take in, but essentially the heart of it was a Caribbean culture. All three of us went to cadets growing up as well, and that one was run by white people. Run by white people. So effectively going there, when you saw a Black person, it was more, you had to band together, especially because I think in a military perspective as well, it's a lot different as well, because, the white boys be the lads, the lads, really like,
But do you know what it is? They're competitive, like when it comes to like
a lot of stuff as well.
So the mental exams,
the physical exams as well.
Exactly, they're not really competing on the physical level, unless it's long distance running and stuff.
Yeah.
But like doing assault courses, running 100 meters, football,
marksmanship, all that stuff. Like, there's a lot of stuff that it allowed us to have that that competitiveness with your fellow person from different sort of races. But yeah, it was a good experience. I've had a variety of experiences. So yeah, that's me. So I'll hand it over to one of these guys today.
I guess I want to switch gears now, because this is the ReEducation podcast, conversations on lived experience of racism. Yeah, I changed the tagline because I can. It's mine. Tell me about, because I have an episode with Renee that I'll be sharing soon. But tell me about your experiences as young Black men in education and out of racism.
You experience it in different ways though. Like, a simple one would be you're out late night going to buy something from the shop or go cash point or, you know, just you're out walking your dog or something. Someone will see you and a woman, for example, hold her bag a bit, and, you know, or you're out and they'll cross the road and walk the other way and then cross back over. Like, it's mad weird because people do it in different ways, and then there's people that do it, like, they'll do the racism to your face, like,
Yeah,
you go somewhere in the shop,
tend to be intoxicated.
like,
They tend to be intoxicated.
yeah, that too. But I mean, like, people not trying to serve you things and stuff in shops and that, whereas the Englishman will come, yeah, cool. And then, as he said, the drunkards at late night, and that's when they say things that, you know, when they've had a bit to drink in the pub and that, when they're around their white mates, they'll say these things, you know, and it's all right. Like, when you say it to a black person, they're like, raw. I can't speak for everyone because everyone will react different in that situation. So, like, yeah, it's just, yeah.
I ain't received no racism. In my opinion, because in school, the majority of kids, and I mean at least 90% of my year was black. So if any teacher was racist, it was more or less just picking on everyone then. And if it's racist, I'm not going to see it as that because the majority of us are all black anyway. And the white people, they didn't really get a privilege because they were all just good people anyway.
I said they were good people.
They would not, as in they literally didn't do any wrong in their year.
Yeah, but imagine going to a school, you're white, imagine going to a predominantly black school and saying something racist. You'll get your ass whipped by
everyone. That happened. A girl done that. She didn't come back to school for that.
I ain't really received no racism. But,
but you know what? That's where I went to school, there was a lot of like NFs and all of that. Do you remember like all those old school white people? Like, yeah, all of that. They were outside the schools. Yeah, it was very active them days.
Something. Talk. This is the platform to talk.
Oh no, but it wasn't me though. I was in year 7 these times. You know, like,
so what have you witnessed then?
Oh, I've witnessed obviously the whites. You know them ones there when you're walking down the alleyway and there's just bare white people and that, or bare black people, and the white youth doesn't want to go down that way. The black guy's thinking, yeah, this is like, you know, they'll wait for you after school and catch one of you one by one and that, like, what? Then it just got to a stage where the blacks were just teaming up, and any one of them they'll see, they'll just rush them. Same vice versa. But then after a while, like, more black people kept coming to our school. So it's like every year a new generation of black people are coming. So they're kind of thinking, oh, raw, like the numbers are increasing. Like, you know, the whites, their numbers are decreasing because they're thinking, yeah, we're moving out now. So after a while, just moved out and stuff.
I just want to go back to Kai. Kai said that he didn't experience racism. So not only school, but have you, just in general, have you experienced any form of racism?
I feel like I've only received racism once. Yeah, once. I don't want to go into detail.
Briefly, innit?
Basically, there was this time in my park closest to my house, Pim's Park, where a group of people had apparently stabbed someone in the head, and they was supposedly wearing exactly what I was wearing. So as I walked through the park, this has happened somewhere else in the park, but one of my friends has he's had a knife on him, and the police have come after him. So they've put me and him in handcuffs and searched us and all that. He obviously didn't get caught with the knife, but now that they've released us after like 20 minutes, as I'm walking back down my road, half an hour later, I get stopped by the same police officer that searched me in the park, and he said that I stabbed the person in the head. And it was a mistaken identity, but the person was white. Well, he was a Turkish guy, but I don't know how you get that wrong. So I think they just wanted to catch me or my friend with a knife, but I didn't have it. So That's basically it. I ain't received anything else. That was like 4 years ago. 4 years ago, I think. That was a long time ago.
I mean, that's profiling at its finest. But the fact that the other person was Turkish, like we're not even the same shade.
Exactly.
I have no problems. Everyone looks at me like they're scared of me for some other reason. I think it's because I always look angry. But everyone says that, so people tend to look away when I'm walking. Some other reason, but
People say you look angry, so they walk away. Is that what you just said?
Nah, they wouldn't look at me in the face because I look really angry all the time, apparently, according to most people. So that's not racist. That's everyone. I see black people doing it too. So
okay.
You myself, I don't really receive any forms of racism directly in a sense. I see other people have, and I obviously tell them don't react to it, because just rise above it. You give a reaction, just you're on the same pedestal as them. I mean, there is direct racism and there's indirect racism. Like for example, like if I'm casting something or I'm going up for a role, and then they think, okay, something as small as applying for a job. You see my name. My name looks. I'm not gonna lie. My name does look a bit white. In all honesty, my name does look white. But most people, they've told me that because they have a really Af surname, that the moment they've even read the email, it's just disregarded. And I'm seeing people. I'm talking with people that are in that position to hire people, and this is what they're telling me that, oh yeah, I saw a certain surname, so I just wasn't bothered to. Like, I'm just like, raw, like, is that the automatic assumption that you have of someone, or the presumption that you have of someone? And is crazy, And me growing up as well, that like in college, I was going up for a role that you guys, I believe, actually watched, Guys and Dolls, when we had to act, sing, and dance, and in that one, my show run was 2 days, whereas the whole cast and crew believed I should have been part for the full 4 days, but they decided to split my days to share it with some white boy who wasn't as talented as me, but to include some sort of, I don't know what, he didn't want to give like a direct reason, but he was just like, oh, like certain people believe that the cast type of this character is white, whereas we always did every show that there was any, interpretation of the character in terms of skin color and stuff. So I was just wondering, like, there wasn't a need to, because as a result of you doing that, the show wasn't as good, So the small things like that I've experienced, but I haven't experienced like direct racism, because I have a quite strong opinion about that stuff anyway. And, I articulate myself in a way that people know you can't really come to me with that sort of behavior, because
So do you think that direct racism, which one do you think is worse, direct or indirect?
Personally, indirect, because then you're not even sugarcoating. I would say it's like you're aware of what you're doing, but you're more prepared to do it on a sly and have a huge impact on a person's life than be the direct racist that's going, you N-word, you're this, you're that, which, it's a word. Okay, yeah, get out your chest, okay, cool, I can move on. But then when it's, I'm not going to give this person a job because of their surname. I'm not going to but you don't even look at their credentials, what they've done in the past in terms of jobs, all of that stuff. You don't even bother to look at that. Or you look at someone's face and go, they're Somalian, I'm not even going to bother. They're black, I'm not even going to bother. That stuff is mind-boggling. So I believe that stuff has a bigger impact than direct racism. I believe direct racism impacts kids more, but indirect racism it affects adults more, in my opinion. Because, by the time you're an adult, you just go, yeah, saying something to me isn't going to affect me. So I'm going to actually hurt you by crumbling, like affecting your actual life. Yeah. So yeah, I believe that's worse, in my opinion. But again, I think they're just equally as bad as
Yeah, no, I definitely feel that indirect is worse than direct, because at least when you're direct with it, you kind of when a person is direct with their racial comments or actions, at least you know how they feel and what, like, where you stand with them.
I'm more shocked when it's direct. You're like, raw.
But it's like, right, you had the balls to say that.
Yeah. Oh,
That with your whole chest. Like, okay, all right, okay. So when I respond how I respond, then like let's keep that same energy in it. Let's keep it matched. Let's keep that same energy. Whereas when it's indirect, I find that that's why whenever I ask people like, have you experienced racism? And I hear, no, I haven't really. There's always a moment where, well, actually, there was this one time when, because the indirect stuff is what makes us then second guess, like, raw, was that race? Or was it? Where did the, then you bring it up, complain, and then you kind of get told, oh, no, you're overreacting. That's not what they meant. They weren't talking about it that way. No, that's not, no. All of that swept under the rug. Like, no, you're overreacting. This is your problem. They didn't mean that. They're not that type of person. I don't know where you're getting those thoughts from. Like, it's those things that make people, especially in the Black community, doubt whether they've actually experienced racism. It's the way in which it's delivered and handled, and the downplay after it's been delivered.
What about you, Renee?
I think indirect as well, because it, like Simone says, it kind of brushing it under the rug invalidates your feelings and your experience, which I hate, because if I feel like I've been indirectly attacked racially, then I have every right to say how I feel. You're not gonna try and manipulate or gaslight me into thinking that it didn't happen when it clearly did. And I also don't like, I'd prefer it if you just come at me and say, I don't like you because you're Black, rather than go around and try and do some maneuver to where it comes across as it's not racism, but it is. So I don't like that.
It's been nice. This has been a great conversation. We've touched on a few topics. Next time we'll get Kai to speak a bit more.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a lot less talking next time.
No, don't do a lot less talking. I'm just teasing.
Let the younger one, take more of a
Younger one.
Oh gosh, he's fine with that. He'll just say what he needs to say, and then it'll be cool, isn't it?
That way.
Thank you guys for joining me. Thank you guys for listening to the first episode of season 2 of the ReEducation podcast. It's been wonderful. Be sure to make your comments, drop your comments below, because this will be on YouTube as well as on my website. But any last words before we go, guys?
Guys, keep safe during this lockdown. Masks. Wear your masks. And don't let the lockdown, stop you from achieving your goals. You can still work from home. There's still a lot you can achieve during this lockdown. So just remain focused. You know the goal.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to drop your socials or your platforms?
So I'm on Instagram. I'm my main stuff is on Instagram. Rhys Lanahan, RHYS, Lanahan, LANAHAN, with an underscore at the end, I believe. Yeah, that's me. Shout yourself out as well, because shout your company.
And my Instagram, Realist OK, and also my business company, Real Cap Productions. It's all one word. Real Cap Productions. So that's 2 P's. Don't get wrong on that, but yeah.
Cap for capital, by the way. Okay, but yeah.
Just that clarification.
I am directing, producing, writing a project, 6 movies. Go follow the socials, a lot of words studios. That's a lot of words studios on Instagram. And we'll be likely to drop more content very soon. Stay tuned.
Renee?
You can follow me on Instagram at Renee Uja if you want. And if you'd like to, you can check out my blog. It's The Diary of an Awkward Black Girl. If you search it on Google, it will come up.
All of these links will be down below in the description box.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you. And I look forward to bringing new experiences to you all and continuing to learn and grow with you all. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.